Was the 3rd of June, another sleepy, dusty Delta day. I was out chopping cotton and my brother was baling hay. And at dinner time we stopped and walked back to the house to eat. And Mama hollered at the back door, y'all remember to wipe your feet. And then she said, I got some news this morning from Choctaw Ridge. Today Billie Joe Macallister jumped off the Tallahacthie Bridge. Papa said to Mama as he passed around.
Hello and welcome to Book versus Movie. This is a podcast where we read books that have been adapted into movies and then we try to decide which we like better, the book or the movie. I am Margot P. of colonialbook.com and this is my good friend and co-host Margot D. of Brooklyn Fit Chick.
Hi everyone.
We are just we're right in the crotch of summer. Just
It's sweaty.
Ooh, it's pretty bad all over the globe, really. I think we just had the hottest June in global history.
Right.
And we have a very summery, hot, sticky summer movie that we're going to be talking about today. If you saw the title for today's episode, and you may be wondering, first of all, if we're going to be talking about The Legend of Billie Jean.
No, but
we're not.
We're not.
Starring Helen Slater and Christian Slater, who are not related to each other.
Right.
We won't be discussing that. We are going to be discussing Ode to Billie Joe, which was not actually based on a book, but based on a song, because we've been doing for some time a brand new episode every single week. That means we've had to expand what we mean when we talk about quote unquote book versus movie to mean any literary source whatsoever, including a magazine article or short story or a play, or sometimes even a song. We've had a few really good movies that have been adapted from songs, or at least very fun ones. We'll be talking today about Ode to Billie Joe. If you are our age, if you're our age or younger, you've never lived in a world without that song. We'll get all into the Bobbie Gentry of it in a moment. But if you are brand new and you've got suggestions for books and movies that you would like for us to consider, we are always looking for suggestions. There are places where you can make those suggestions, meet other listeners of this podcast, and interact with us on the internet.
We do have a basic Facebook page. Be sure to like it, but we're much more interactive in our Facebook group. And you just type in Book VS Movie Podcast Group and ask to join. It's a private group, and we do just talk about books and movies and ideas for the show. There are also 2 pinned posts at the top of the page. One is for episodes we've already covered, and then the other is ideas. And we just ask that whatever the source is, if it's a song or a novel or a magazine article, newspaper article, anything, it needs to be something we can get our hands on. And then the movie needs to be streaming on a major app. We can't have anything that we have to actually like buying a DVD or anything like that. So send us suggestions there. We're on Twitter as long as that exists. I think that's becoming X. That's what just was announced. Book versus movie.
Wait, I'm sorry. Sorry to interrupt.
You didn't know this?
No, what is
Elon Musk released a tweet last night. This is Sunday when we're recording this. Yesterday, and it was just an X, like a X twirling, as a logo. And he says it's no longer going to be. He sent notice to his employees on a Sunday morning that they're going to change the name and it's going to be X. So,
and that is everything we need to know about Elon Musk, right?
Right. He took a $44 billion brand. It's up there with the people that changed HBO Max to just Max, and other ideas from billionaires are supposed to be better and smarter than us. That's a whole other conversation to have. Sorry. So if we're not there anymore, we are on Threads, Book versus Movie, Instagram, Book versus Movie. Just in those cases, you spell it all out. And then we have an old-timey email if you just want to send us a suggestion that way. Book versus Movie Podcast, spelled it all out at gmail.com. And we also have stickers. If you'd like some stickers, we'd be happy to send them to you in the mail wherever you are in the world.
And if you really enjoy the show and would like to help keep the lights on for us, you can support us on Patreon.
Yes, Patreon. We're putting all of our episodes from 2020 and previous to that up on the wall. We've been doing the show for 9 years now. 10 years will be our anniversary next fall. That's when we met each other and started the show. What we have going up there very soon is Turn of the Screw, Psycho, and The Silence of the Lambs. Those are coming up on the Patreon page, but we had a whole bunch we put up this summer. Harold and Maude, Little Women, The Perfect Storm, Stand By Me, Stepford Wives, all of those are on our Patreon wall. And we just use that money for books and movies and the cost for the software to put on the show. So thank you all for doing that. But if money's tight, we totally get it. Lots of striking is happening right now. If you could just leave us a review wherever you get your podcasts, that'd be amazing. And I'd like to thank Christina, who just left us a 5-star review. She's also a proud Patreon member. So Christina, thank you so much for leaving us 5 stars. It helps us find our people. And iTunes, when you leave reviews, it makes you look like you're more active and stuff like that. So,
wow, double thank you to Christina.
Yes.
I'm not mad at you, Christina. I'm mad at the dirt. I love the name Christina. We have a really super good friend named Christina. And I just want everybody to know I have shown so much restraint with the Mommy Dearest quotes and my friend Christina.
It's tough.
It's not easy. Mm-mm. Christina, bring me the axe.
This is that's our generation, that movie.
I am so excited to talk about today's song and movie from the song book of, in my opinion, an extremely underrated songwriter and performer and just entertainment powerhouse, a pioneer in many regards. Not to mention, she is drop dead gorgeous.
She's as beautiful as a model. I mean, that's...
She was a model, I think.
And she was a model.
Yeah?
And there's times where she's doing, the TV segment, like we play at the top of the show, she's singing live and playing live, and her guitar picking is great. It's an arpeggio kind of thing she's doing.
She's amazing. We're going to be talking about Bobbie Gentry. And I forget what her real name is. That's not her real name.
Roberta.
Although she is really from that county, right?
Oh, yeah. She's from Woodland, Mississippi. Her name was Roberta Lee Streeter. Her birthday's coming up. Your birthday, the 27th. That's her birthday. Oh, my God.
We have the same birthday.
Birthday twins.
What?
Leos. And
no wonder I love her so much.
She was born in Mississippi. She was basically raised by her grandparents until she was a teenager, and then she moved to Southern California. I believe she went to Palm Springs High School, but she would go back and visit her family. The way she got into music is like one day her mother brought a piano into the living room. She taught herself how to play piano, guitar, singing, songwriting, all that stuff. She moves to LA. She's going to college. She's going to UCLA. And then she was playing nights and weekends, and she did some modeling. She's extraordinarily beautiful. And she changed her name to Gentry, Ruby Gentry, because there was a movie called Ruby Gentry, and she was always nicknamed Bobbie. So she just decided to do Bobbie Gentry would be her stage name. And so she gets together with a producer in 1967 to come up with her first album. She said she just got the space, like she wasn't produced. She's one of the things that she's known for is being one of the first female artists to be known as a composer and produce their own material. It was a big deal for her. We should also say the song comes out in 1967. She becomes a superstar because of this song. And we'll get more into the song as we talk about the song specifically. Just talking about Bobbie Lee Gentry, is that she went to Vegas to put on shows. And this is in the 70s, before even Elvis had his show kind of set. She was putting on shows in Vegas that were supposedly over the top and spectacular. And they were a huge hit, and people came from all over the world to check her out. She gets married. She's been married a few times. She marries Jim Stafford in the late 70s. I Don't Like Spiders and Snakes. That's one of my favorite songs. I don't like spiders.
She was also married to the guy that had started Harrah's Casino.
Yes.
That
Bill
was her
Harrah.
first husband. Yeah. And I mean, just amazing stuff that she's done. So bright. Extremely talented, of course. People always talk about music people. I mean, there's a lot of to do that's made about Glenn Campbell's television show, his variety show. That, but it had a companion show that was the Bobbie Gentry show. It was the Glenn Campbell. Wait, it was the Glenn Campbell. Wait, what was the name of his show? It was like, one was the happy hour and one was like happy hour, something like that. They had companion,
right.
complementary names. But I mean, she was a massive hit in Britain.
She also recorded an album with Glenn Campbell that was very popular at the time. This is in the late 60s. We should say 67 is when this song comes out, and it like beats the Beatles. It knocks the Beatles off the #1 record.
It does. Yeah, Sgt. Pepper, I think, right?
Yeah, Sgt. Pepper. This was the album that knocked Sgt. Pepper off. So she grows up in Southern California and in the South. She writes this song. She does all these years in Vegas. She gets married a few times. And the 70s are wild for a lot of people. She was married 3 times and she was doing these Vegas shows. And then she just kind of calmed down or just wanted to wind down things. So she wound up moving. Nobody's really quite sure where she is. She's in the South. This year, first of all, the bridge that she's talking about in the song, it burnt down, and so they had to rebuild it. But there's a sign there, and it's all in honor of Bobbie because she's like this huge star from the area. But she's still with us as we're speaking, and she just hasn't been. She's just a recluse, basically. She doesn't go out. She doesn't give interviews. She's never talked about. She never gives an answer on what is going on with the song when we talk about the song. But it is one of those eternal mysteries that everybody's. I was going to say to you, like, I went on a Reddit rabbit hole, which I'm apt to do anyway, but just look, ode to Bobbie, ode to Billie Joe, and then just be like, well, what are they talking about in the song? And it's just incredible. She's very beautiful and talented. She also, some people mocked it. Bob Dylan was notoriously dismissive of Ode to Billie Joe. Right.
It's a super good song.
It's a great song.
It is a super good song.
Yeah. He doesn't. I made a mistake of saying, like, I thought it was 1970, but I realized because I listened to the 70s channel, they never play it. It's 1967. The movie is the mid 70s.
Yes, and So in the 70s, and we're skipping, like, there's so many. Yeah. She has so many accomplishments, you guys, and we don't know. She basically withdrew from public life at a certain point. I'm going to say like in the early 80s. It was like she kind of vanished from there. Some people say she lives in Tennessee. Some people say she lives in California. Some people say she lives by the Tallahacthie Bridge.
Right.
We don't know. But her work, I mean, she's such a legacy of a singer-songwriter and such a groundbreaking performer. And also she was a woman. Like, regardless of her gender, she really broke a lot of ground for American singer-songwriters. Just incredible career that she had. So in the 70s, she writes a song for a movie called Another Place, Another Time. Mm-hmm. And that movie is directed by Max Baer Jr., who you and I know as Jethro. He wasn't a Clampett. He was Jethro Bodine, I think was his last name.
Right.
Because he's not Jed Clampett's son. He's Jed Clampett's nephew.
He's kin.
By his sister. He's kin. Yeah. So he and Ellie Mae are cousins. They're not brother and sister.
And his father was a boxer in the 30s and 40s. They did a movie about Ron Howard, did a movie about Max Baer Sr. He's someone in the 60s. He had made this ton of money. This is back, by the way, that you could first make residuals as a TV star. So he was doing fine for himself. But he produced a lot of movies. He was really into. I was watching a documentary the other day about Charles Manson, as I'm wont to do, and he shows up there like, "Oh yeah, I was at that Dennis Wilson house when the Manson girls were there." He's just somebody that was clued in. So he's the person that put the money up for this particular production of this song. So should we get into the song?
Yeah.
Ooh, I love it so much. Ode to Billie Joe was released July of 1967. It's 4 minutes, 15 seconds. It's filled with strings and spookiness. It has a very eerie feel of the Delta. It just captures so much emotion and feeling.
even without the arrangement, and the arrangement is
great,
a masterpiece, just to be clear. But even if you just take like what would have been her demo version, just her and the guitar and those arpeggios, like you were saying, it's so evocative. She is such a brilliant wordsmith. She instantly paints, she gives you sights, sounds, smells, temperature. It's sweaty, it's dusty, it's icky and sticky. And you have this it's told from the point of view of a young girl who doesn't have a name in the song. But she's we gather she's sort of like a young teenager maybe. And just like, what is it like? We're in her home. It's dinner time. The kids are running in from outside. Dad's been out working in the fields, and he's still got more work to do before the day is done. And what's mom cooking? And this is what their life is like. And we're going to go to church on Sunday, and it's just gorgeous. And then there's this, and it's all like idyllic or at least very Americana. And I can't remember, is it the mom or the dad that says at the dinner table?
I think the mom tells the dad.
It's like, oh, by the way,
oh, here's your biscuits, here's your food. Oh, by the way, that Billie Joe Macallister jumped off the bridge. And that's how the daughter finds out. And then and the father's like, oh, that's a drag. Well, pass the biscuits. He's never had any sense. This, by the way, like making it current, like there's a very popular country song called Small Town that is out right now.
In the news this week.
In the news this week. And he's like, this is really about a small town. This is about small town values and people being kind of cloistered. And what you find out is that Billie Joe died by suicide by jumping off this bridge. And the narrator had a relationship with him. She doesn't say specifically how deep it was.
Right. We don't know what the nature of it was. But it did, it was somebody clearly that she was close to.
Right. And so when she's trying to get information, what we're hearing from her is like, oh, some people said they saw you with him on the bridge and that you threw something over the bridge. And she's kind of not really taking that bait, basically. And in the story, and she said she donated her lyrics, I think it was to Tennessee University or maybe Mississippi, but she donated her lyrics to a university, and her original, she wrote it out on a big yellow legal pad. She had a couple of more verses, which were supposedly tell you more about the story, but she wisely took them out. It makes more sense, and it's better that you're not quite sure why he did it. You're not quite sure what her feeling is for him. You're not quite sure what was thrown over that bridge. So, like, we have all these things like, well, what caused him to do this? And what she said over and over again throughout her career is the story is more about human indifference, that we can all just become so absorbed in our own lives and our own pain, our own things that we're worried about, that we can't always remember to have empathy for another person. And so they can just talk about him, and she's devastated by this news, or she's shocked at least. And her parents are like, well, give me the biscuits, and isn't your brother going to go to the dance on Saturday? The end of the song is she gives us a few months later, and her brother got married. Her father had a virus and died. And then her mom just kind of sits around like staring off into space, and she's not understanding like what her mother's going through. Like she's sort of like, well, she's whatever. And it's just how people can do that. You get so wrapped up in your own stuff that you don't really look at what's going on with other people. And so there's something like, here it is, this nice small town, and people go to church on Sunday and have these family values, but they're kind of talking about a person that was obviously in despair. And just sort of like, oh, well, they never had any sense anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's, I mean, Bobbie Gentry is, again, I can't stress enough how brilliant she is. when the song came out and she was asked about the song, and, again, this is 1967. This is pre what would become women's lib, really, or at the very, 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 very earliest stages of it. So I can't even imagine the kind of like smarmy, icky,
yes, and
misogynistic,
she's
and she's beautiful.
It's sort of like Alana Miles, that Black Velvet, there's certain hot women that show up and then people say, oh, well, it's just because you're hot that people are paying attention to you. Lana Del Rey is a good example.
Yes.
And then it takes a while for people to go, oh, no, this is somebody who's truly interesting and talented and cares about what they're putting out. And that's who she was. But like I said, it's a sexist industry, and Bob Dylan made fun of her, and he basically made fun of the song, and it's just silly and gross.
Song.
It's a great song, and you should be jealous you didn't write it.
Asked about it at the time in 1967, she called it a study in unconscious cruelty.
Yes.
Extremely bright woman.
It's gothic. It's very like William Faulkner-esque, or Boo Radley could be in this story too. I mean, there's all those Southern Gothic kind of characters, and it's that other Americana of it. It was the hot country song. It was the top R&B song. It was a pop song. It just, like, Fast Car is coming back from Tracy Chapman, and I forget, Luke something or other is the artist. Sorry, I'm not a country person, but she's another one. Like, that song, Fast Song. Like, people were like, well, what's the song about? It's just about a woman in a car. I'm like, no. There's so much happening through the whole thing. And then people like, it's like Tracy Chapman once, by the way. I remember in Living Color had a sketch about Tracy Chapman and how she writes songs. And I'm like, yeah, she writes about experience.
It's brilliant.
Yeah. Try it sometime. So it was nominated for 8 Grammy Awards. And at this time, the Beatles never won a Grammy. There's all these like really popular people that who was this girl? She came out of nowhere. And then she was the big hit. She was on Carol Burnett a bunch of times. I have a clip that on TikTok of her on the Andy Williams show. They recorded in September. So the song was still playing at the holidays. I mean, it's considered one of the greatest country songs. It was in the Library of Congress this year, National Recording Registry, and it's just spectacular. I can't say enough about it. I love hearing it.
I know, and she influenced. You brought up the try it in a small town,
right?
But you know what? He owes that style to Bobbie Gentry.
Yeah.
She really influenced, especially in country music, the story song, it was something that already existed. Of course, like that's one of the things about country music, American country music, is that you have, it's the stories. These songs are often, they will tell you a story, like Jolene, and but she really, I mean, it is like a novel.
Yes.
It has layers and mystery, and you can't stop thinking about it. Like, what happened? What was their relationship? And where did she throw over the bridge? And why would he do
Didn't
that?
the
Why doesn't
parents
anybody
know
care?
His parents, or
They must have.
It's a small town. Like but people can get like that. Something really terrible. And I remember there was somebody who died by suicide when I was a kid in my neighborhood, and people just didn't say anything. I mean, this is in the suburbs, but just people are like, how do you even bring up the conversation? It's like one of those things people kind of just don't want to bring it out into the open. And that's like I said, she's never explained it. She doesn't, because that's not the point to her. The point is you're supposed to, like you said, understand the unconscious cruelty of not having empathy and seeing other people as full-fleshed humans. And that's hard to do sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. It's such a good song.
Yes.
It's such an amazing song.
Reba McEntire's a huge fan. There's just all kinds of people that I've just been looking up. But she's huge. She's just so important. The UK, this song was very popular at the time. She's in the Nashville Songwriters Hall of Fame. She's had amazing records. One with Bobbie Gentry and Glenn Campbell. That's the name of it, 1960. She put out like 4 albums in 5 years or 6 years. 6 albums in 6 years. And so that was a lot of output. Then she went to Vegas, and then she did all these shows in Vegas. And then I think maybe she just was burnt out. We'll talk about the movie. It made a lot of money. So she said, this is called publishing, y'all. If you're going to be in the music business and write your songs, be a producer or write your songs, or both, because that's where you make your money, because you make pennies otherwise. But that's her. That's Bobbie Gentry. And it's so fun to learn about her. And there's
much
beautiful,
much amazing video of her on on the internet
Yes.
to enjoy. And yeah, it's just so underrated. So underrated.
And some of them, it's just her and the guitar.
Yeah.
You know, without all that lush production around it. But it's just her. It's
But I
still.
love the with this song. Like with the strings are,
it's phenomenal.
they're so wonderful.
It's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
let's talk. So anyway, so as we mentioned in the 70s, she writes a song for a movie that's directed by Max Baer Jr. And he decides and here's another kind of interesting thing, another underrated, kind of brilliant person. He's one of the first people who to say like, why don't we adapt a movie from a song?
Yeah.
And this is an amazing song. It tells an amazing story. There's a mystery. It's evocative. This would make a great movie. And so, because I imagine because they must have already had a relationship and known each other and liked working together, they developed this film.
Let's play the trailer and then we'll talk about this film. This is Ode to Billie Joe, directed and produced by Max Baer Jr.
It was the 3rd of June, another sleepy, dusty Delta day.
What the song didn't tell you, the movie will show you. Bobbie Gentry's Ode to Billie Joe is now a movie.
Today, Billie Joe Macallister jumped off the Tallahacthie Bridge.
Tallahacthie Bridge, all out.
Afternoon, Mr. Hartley. Hi, I'm Billie Joe Macallister. Good morning, Mr. and Miss Hartley. I'm Billie Joe Macallister. You may remember me.
There's something wrong with that boy.
By now, your papa surely knows who I am.
Oh, he knows who you are. You just don't know what you are. No, I screamed no. And then I heard my own voice saying, yes, yes, yes. And then no, 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 no.
You were up late last night.
I was reading.
The good book?
Oh, yes, Mama. It was a good book. Girls growing up, Glenn.
Featuring some very strange ideas, too.
Here we are, second half of the 20th century. The 20th century! Mississippi has yet to hear a word of it.
How old are you, girl?
32. D cut.
I love you.
I love you, Billie Joe.
No matter what I say, no matter what I do, please remember I love you.
Boy, seen Billie Joe lately? That Billie Joe Macallister?
People have been looking for you.
Something happened. It was something real bad, Bobbie Lee.
Don't seem like no good never come to nobody on this bridge.
Now, years after the whispers and the rumors, the Tallahacthie River gives up its secrets.
And me, I spend a lot of time picking flowers up on Choctaw Ridge and drop them into the muddy water off the Tallahacthie Bridge.
What the song didn't tell you, the movie will show you. Bobbie Gentry's legendary Ode to Billie Joe. The song is now the movie.
I told Margot off the air, I used to be friendly with Jenny Rauscher. So the person who wrote the screenplay is Herman Rauscher, and he's known mostly for the movie Summer of 42. But he's written lots of books, and he's written some screenplays for books and novelization. So this was a novelization / screenplay that he wrote to create this movie. Also, I said last episode that my family was a test neighborhood for HBO in like 1977. And so we used to watch, this was on there all the time, and Towering Inferno. I know those like the back of my hand, those movies.
Towering Inferno.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Me, the kid that's terrified of heights. And that was like my dad's favorite movie. He always wanted to watch it. Like, okay. Anyway, we have Robby Benson, sigh, gorgeous.
The Beast. We talked about it when we talked about Beauty and the Beast.
Yes. Lifetime crush for me. Women of a certain age, we just there's Robby Benson in our brain. Glynnis O'Connor plays his girlfriend. They're both about 19, 20 years old when they make this movie. It's set and filmed in the South. This is the sweatiest movie you will see. There are so many scenes of people perspiring profusely.
It kind of reminded me when we did Biloxi Blues.
Yes.
It's very that.
When you and I, one of the first times we met in person, I think it was Savannah. Maybe that was the second time we met in person.
That's right.
We were in Savannah in June. Savannah, Georgia in June is swampy.
That's the sweatiest I've ever been in my life, I think.
They filmed this in a place even sweatier. So they were in Mississippi. They're right by this bridge where they filmed it in the summer of 1975. Being in those church clothes in that church with no air conditioning must have been so hot. When they're just sitting down having dinner, they look hot. When they have a scene, we'll go through the scenes that's coming up. But anyway, Billie Joe, we're not quite sure so much of his background. We don't meet his parents. We don't meet his other friends. We meet Glynnis O'Connor, who plays. So by the way, in the song, it's Billie. In the movie, it's Billy for Billie. Because it's Billie Joe and Bobbie Lee. Bobbie Lee is like 15, 16 years old. Mm-hmm. Just a scout, she's like a tomboyish kind of girl.
Yeah, a bit. Yeah.
Smart, just going to school. And then, she's with her parents and they have a farm. She has an older brother who's probably about marrying age. And she reads these romance novels. And he, by the way, Herman Rauscher did. This is the reason I tried to get in touch with Jenny Rauscher, is because Herman Rauscher and Bobbie Gentry hung out for a few weeks to work over the story. So she had to approve of his ideas for the story, which, once again, by the way, you can find people arguing about what is actually going on in this movie. There's things that...
You can.
Yes.
That's what I really like about this movie, because just like with the song, although you get, because you have to, it's a movie, you have to have a beginning, a middle, and an end.
Right.
But still, like, the thing that's so amazing about the song is that, I don't want to call it a cliffhanger, but this unresolved, like, but what was really going on? Who was the, and the movie does have that element, with also kind of giving you more story there.
Right.
But you still have that unsettled, unresolved, like, what's going to happen?
I think
at
it's
the end
brilliant.
of it. I love it.
Me too. I love the fact that you're not even quite sure. Like, he's not sure, but it's sort of like, we'll go through the story.
Yeah.
He meets her, and they start a courting. He says hello to her at church. He meets her parents. He tries to be very formal.
Mr. and Miss Hardy. Indeed a fine sermon, don't you think?
Huh.
I'm Billie Joe Macallister. You may remember me.
Excuse us. There's something wrong with that boy.
Oh, I don't think so.
No, he keep popping up and introducing himself like he wants to sell me a vacuum cleaner or something.
Snappy dressing, though, those shoes.
He's immediately like, I love you. He's love bombing her. He's completely smitten,
Quite.
as we would say. He works at the local mill with other young men.
Yeah, he's not in school because he's working at the mill.
Right. I think maybe he's like a year out of school and he's not going to college. So but I was like, well, does he live with his parents? Does he live with these other men that work at the mill? Okay. So it's unclear. His boss is James Best, who is in Dukes of Hazzard. Roscoe P. Coltrane, that's who he played. So he's the guy that is in charge, and it's and she and her dad. It's an hour and a half. There's scenes that go on and on. I mean, it's a very languid pace. I mean, they really just want you to understand, like, this is what life was like in the 50s in this town. She doesn't have electricity in her house.
Or indoor plumbing.
Her dad gets a toilet and they're all like super excited. They bring it out to the front lawn and everyone's yay for the toilet. I mean, toilets are great, let's be clear, but this is what they're in. I mean, this is the life that they live. So she's just this average kid, and this guy comes in, he's really cute, and he's giving, like, love bombing her. And she's sort of like, well, this is her first romance, and she reads about them in the magazines, but she doesn't know, like, what his deal is. And he's very very much interested in kissing her and loving her and telling her he loves her and they need to run away together and wouldn't life be great, blah, blah, blah.
You're always adopted.
Well, I don't think I'm depraved. I'm merely underprivileged.
Underprivileged.
Well, maybe not underprivileged. It's more like deprived. Deprived of you for no good reason I can understand.
Swell, you're deprived and I'm depraved. What a pair.
I'm growing tired of talking.
I caution you not to act in a rash manner.
Oh, shut up.
If I shout, my papa will be here in a moment, and my dog will be here even sooner. So you got fair warning.
You talk. Years from now, what's it gonna be like with you when you stop talking?
Well, I done my talking for this evening, rest assured.
You talk so much, you give me a headache. Every time I leave you, I got a headache. Amongst other things.
Well, that is, of course, your problem.
Oh, yeah. And it's our problem.
Damn you, Billie Joe, right on my own property.
Right on your mouth.
Billie Joe, you're trespassing. You're intruding. Papa? Dog?
Gotta stop this fun around we've been doing, Bobbie Lee.
Where is that dog? Dog?
So one day there's a jamboree in town, and we've already met these people. They've been to church. They're very hardworking. There's also a scene where the father is trying to cross that bridge in his old jalopy car, and then a group of rednecks from Alabama, they get into like a chicken kind of game where they're pushing him off the bridge, and she has to run and get Billie Joe and his friends to help rescue her dad. And her dad was just trying, like, look, I just want to cross the bridge. I don't need this hassle. So they go to this jamboree, and it's one of those, like, everyone's playing country music and dancing, and they got fiddles and stuff. And what we don't realize is that there's a whole other side of the barn where there's
a whole
entertainment.
other world in the back of the sawmill.
And I remember watching as a little kid and kind of like, oh my God.
I forgot about this part,
same.
this sequence.
I didn't even think about it. The thing is that Billie Joe with his friends gets wasted. He gets way too drunk. He's very skinny. He's probably, it's probably dehydrated. But he's drinking beer. And then they go and they turn it into a cat house in the back of this barn. So they have these women that are sex workers that are brought in to basically please the men. And they're in stalls. There's like hay. And that's where they're making their money.
The sheriff is in there with one of them. The
sheriff is in there. Some of the people who go to the church. I mean, it's understood. It's a wink and a nod. Like, this is like, it's losing his virginity, I'm supposing. Like, that's what they want him to do. There's some cultures, that's what they do. Like, the men do that for their sons. So he goes to behind the scenes, and he's so wasted, and he goes up to a girl who's like, "All right, come on, it's going to be okay." And he's freaking out. He's like sick. He's really, really drunk. He's passing out. He's just woozy.
It's very sweaty.
Very sweaty. Very, very sweaty. You just got to be really careful. And he's not doing that well. And then they kind of fade out of the scene. It's not lascivious. I mean, it's just.
No, but we don't know what's going to happen. You know,
Right.
and the scene kind of ends and we're like, well, what's going to go on here? Like we know he's in love with Bobbie Lee, but he's also really wasted and it's super hot. And he's in this situation where he's kind of in over his head.
All these guys are pushing him.
They're really pushing him. So we don't really know what's going to happen. But the next thing we know, it's the following, it's later that week, and he has been missing for 3 days.
His father or uncle goes by the plant and says, have you guys seen my son? And the man that runs the plant, the manager's like, oh, no idea. Other guys, they're like, no, we haven't seen him. We've been worried about him. And they're like, well, please let us know. His folks are really worried. Bobbie is out by the water. And she sees he comes out of the woods up to her. He's been gone for 2 or 3 days, sleeping in the woods. And she said, what did you eat? And he said, oh, mushrooms and onions. Like, it sounds, I'm sure he stunk. I'm sure it's, but. Right? I was like, oh. But
wow.
Yeah, he comes up to her and he's just like, he just says, I've done something terrible. And she said, what are you talking about? And he goes, you don't understand. I was back there with those guys. And she's like, okay, and what happened? And then he said, I did something with a man I shouldn't have done. And she said, well, what did you do? And he's trying, and she says to him, look, you were drunk. You're not guilty of anything.
She's super understanding.
She's really way more understanding than I would be at 15. She really is very... Like, she's like a 20-year-old from Greenwich Village or something. She's like, no, that's, you were just drunk and you don't understand what happened. And that's okay. Don't be mad at yourself, And he's completely distraught because he is raised to believe that doing anything homosexual is a sin, any act, and he's going to hell. And he's...
Oh, we've just been waiting so long and trying so hard. Oh, it's all right, Billie Joe.
It ain't all right. I ain't all right. Bobbie, I have been with a man. Did you hear me? Which is a sin against nature, a sin against God. I don't know how I could have done it, I swear. I don't know how I could be wanting you and do that.
But you were drunk. Maybe you just imagined it.
I didn't imagine nothing.
But you were drunk. Everyone saw how drunk you were.
Wrong. I knew. I knew what was happening.
Who was it?
I ain't gonna say.
Why? Wish I could understand.
I wish I could.
I always thought that men like that were easy to see.
Oh, Jesus. Men like that.
Well, I know you're not a man like that. So you're wrong. You conjured it all up for some reason that I don't understand. Because I couldn't be wrong about the only boy in the world that I'd ever been meant to love me. I couldn't be wrong. I couldn't.
And
really
he also
upset.
insists
He wanted to.
that he wanted to, yeah, that he knew what he was doing. Yes, he was drunk, but he wasn't that drunk. And so he knew what he was doing. And he's very confused now because he does love her, but he also went into this thing willingly, it would seem. At no point is there any hint that, I mean, of course, we don't know how old he is exactly, but there's no hint that he was coerced or forced or anything like that. But here he is, he's done this thing and he doesn't know what it means. How can he have this pure, what he sees as this pure love for this young girl, and also have done this thing willingly, gone into that. And he also will not tell her who the man was.
Right. And so she doesn't know what to do. I mean, and so he kind of takes off. Like he says, well, you kind of think about what's going on. So she goes home and her mother buys her a doll, and and I guess like No,
her mother it's a doll from her childhood. So we've learned this early, like the very first interaction, we established the writing I think is really pretty good here.
Yeah.
The story, the way they've established the story, I think is very good. The first time we meet Billie Joe, it's right at the beginning of the movie. He is on the bridge and he's waiting for her to walk home from school. And he's like, hey, gosh, you're awfully pretty. And, I would like to go out with you sometime if your dad will let me. And she's like, yeah, well, he's not going to let you. And he says, oh, I remember you used to have that imaginary friend named Benjamin. And she was like, oh, I can't believe you remember that. And anyway, so Benjamin, we learn later, isn't her imaginary friend. And she talks to him like off and on through the movie. But it's also a doll that she had when she was a little kid. And her mom sees that she's growing older, that she's interested in dating. She's trying to persuade her dad to let Billie Joe date her. And the mom goes to her and is like, oh, hey, look, I found Benjamin, your doll. So yeah, it's her doll from when she was a little kid.
Also, her brother has a girlfriend that he wants to marry, but he has sex with somebody at the barn too.
He's in the barn as well.
He's in the barn. So there's the things that the men are doing that the women aren't supposed to know about, but they know one another. They know that they're doing it. And she kind of suspects something happened. But she has this doll. And then she runs into Billy again on the bridge, and they're talking. And she's trying to tell him, like, I don't care. We're friends and I love you. And he's basically saying, no, you don't get it. I'm ruined. So he throws the doll into the water.
Yeah, it starts escalating because she's trying to say, like you said, like, I understand, it's fine. We still can have a future. I don't understand why you're not. And he's, understandably, it's the 50s,
Yeah.
In Mississippi,
and that's his boss.
But we don't know that yet. But,
right.
But just the possibility that somebody could find out, somebody else could find out, and it would ruin her. It would ruin her family. There's a lot of bad things that can happen here, and they are disagreeing about this. And in the fight that ensues, he acts. I think it's an accident, but he throws her doll and therefore her childhood.
Right, it's symbolic.
Into the symbolism, into the river, and he's instantly apologetic. And they sort of leave it that like he needs to think a little bit more and sort some things out, but she's made it very clear, like, I love you, we can get out of here. It doesn't matter. It's, don't worry about me. I'm here, as far as I'm concerned, it's ride or die. We're ready to go. They sort of make arrangements that they're going to meet the following day or something like that. And she's like, your parents are worried sick. You should really go home and
get some rest.
Get some rest. There's no reason to be eating onions and mushrooms in the woods.
Right.
It's okay. And he's like, yeah, let me just think about it a little bit. And then the next thing we know, like the movie's really good about this, of like,
right.
Like the scene will end and it's not quite resolved. And then the next scene, even though we all know the song, even though we all know he's going to jump off that bridge, I think the way they do it is really clever and very well done.
Yeah, well, they find his body. And so then it becomes, what did he do and why did he do it? And I like the fact, like, they do find the doll, but they kind of just toss it aside. Like, yeah, this doesn't matter. And then it becomes, well, what happened? Because she's completely, and she's the last person seen with him. And people thought they were dating, and they thought, and there's just rumors going around. So her older brother says, like, look, hey, I know you're bummed out about losing your boyfriend and dying and all that. But, you know, if he did something, if you had, basically say, if you had sex with him, you need to do something about it and not shame this family. And she never had sex with him.
No, she never did.
Never did.
No, but everybody thinks that she did and that she's pregnant. And yeah, her brother's...
I'm sorry.
She's 15, and
Right.
Her brother's trying to convince her that, you need to go to this place and get an abortion. And we learned that her father has... he had been the deacon of the church, and he's after
Right.
20 years they've rescinded his deaconship. So the family is already starting to get consequences of this total lie.
An innocent friendship.
Yeah. Not true in the least.
We should say, I'm sorry. And also, for years, people were like, what happened on that bridge? And people said, did she throw it off the bridge? And a lot of people think they threw a baby off the bridge. Like that she perhaps gave birth.
Yeah.
Or was it a wedding ring, or was it flowers? Like, and she's always said it doesn't matter. None of that matters. You just, right. It's all about and so her parents are facing the consequences. Her brother is getting on her case at what to do. And then they end the movie where she's walking back across the bridge, and she's got her little suitcase with her. And the manager comes up to her from the mill, and he says, hey, where are you going? And she says, I'm going to go out of town for a little bit. I got to go to the bus station. I got to go out of town. And he said, well, you didn't do anything wrong. And he knows. He knows.
Yeah.
And she said, I know, but just stay, because you just staying here and not having a baby within 9 months is going to show people that you're not pregnant. It wasn't you. You didn't do anything. She goes, it doesn't matter. They'll just think I went someplace anyway. So I'm going to go someplace, get out for 9 months basically, and then come back. And maybe hopefully I've done my penance in people's eyes, and it'll be okay. And he says very nicely, like, I'm going to go to your parents. I'm going to tell them the truth.
Up early, Bobbie Lee.
Yes, sir.
You going somewhere?
I'm gonna catch the 6:40 bus.
So you decided to leave, huh?
Pierce?
Have your baby?
Well, more or less.
No baby in you, Bobbie Lee.
Well, that makes you about the only person around here I don't think that.
I heard that talk. What I can't understand is why you want to leave. Seems to me it'd be much easier for you to stay here, and just face up to the world and show the people that there's no baby.
I just figure I sneaked off during the night sometime and had an operation when nobody was looking.
I suppose so.
I know so.
Does your mama know you're leaving?
Mama knows.
I was just on my way up to your house. Now I realized how early it was. So I parked my car back there and decided to walk on up there. No sense getting up there till somebody's stirring around.
You got some business at my house?
I do.
With me?
Yeah. I wanted to talk to you. One of the reasons I waited so long was selfish. Selfish. My family. I didn't think it would sit too well with them.
It won't.
I was also going to talk to your papa. And when I walk you back.
My papa's never gonna understand.
But he might.
You're gonna kill Billie Joe all over again. And yourself besides.
Yeah.
I can't live with, this is, you shouldn't, you're 15 years old. You should not be walking by yourself to a bus stop and leaving. You didn't do anything wrong. I want to tell you the parent. And she said, if you do that, they'll kill you. It's killing Billie Joe all over again. And then they're going to kill you.
It's going to ruin
everything.
My family. It's going to ruin Billie Joe's family. It's going to ruin your family. What is the point of that?
This is
says the 15-year-old girl on the bridge.
On the bridge. Not pregnant.
Now, here is my only beef with this movie, I have to say, because I really like this movie a lot. I really enjoyed it. This is my only beef with the script. Why, you own the sawmill. So, obviously, you have some cash on you. Here you've got this 15-year-old little girl about to go off to God knows where, and all you do is offer her a ride to the bus station? Are you kidding me when you caused all this? Dude.
Every time, I'm like, they could just give a throwaway line like, you need some cash, right? I'm going to give you some cash. We'll go to the bus station. I'm going to give you some cash because
this is what I'm saying.
These people just got a toilet in the last year. There's not money everywhere. They don't have a money tree. So yeah, that's the one thing. But that's how she leaves it, and it's beautiful. And I posted on my TikTok clips, and people said I used to cry my eyes out watching this movie because Robby Benson is acting his head off here in this movie.
Oh, he really is. He really is. And I love that the end. Where is she going? As you say, she has no money. She is 15 years old. She looks she looks 12.
She looks 12. She doesn't say, like, I'm going to my aunt's house in
she's going on a bus
Birmingham.
We don't know.
We don't know.
You end the movie with the exact kind of like, Ma! Just like with the song, where you're like, what's going to happen? I don't know. Why doesn't anybody care? Why is nobody giving her money? Why is
why is she being punished?
So, that's why I think it's just like the movie is so successful in that way, in not only giving us a plausible story, well executed. I love her parents.
Yes,
but
they're nice people.
You also capture that moody, again, that hot Mississippi feeling, and that unsettled, unconscious cruelty like the song has. It's great.
There's the scene when they go to when they make the converted cat house that like even the women there are sweating through all their stuff. Like,
they just
feel the heat of this place, and it feels oppressive.
When you're on that hay,
yes.
Ew.
But it feels oppressive. Like it really, you feel like I'm kind of glad she's leaving, but I want to know where she's going. Like, do you have a cool aunt in Astoria, Queens, who's going to take you in and take care? We don't know, and then if you go to IMDb, you do review movies like. The going back and forth people have, like, he's gay. No, he's not gay. He's bi. No, I think this is what's going on. Like, you don't know because he doesn't even know. He has no idea. Right.
He has no idea.
He could be bisexual. He could just be whatever.
He could be gay.
Could be gay. Queer.
Just be confused.
Or just confused or fluid. Whatever. We don't know. And he doesn't know. And he's not in a place where he can just figure himself out.
He doesn't have like an LGBT center he can go to.
There's no P flag that he could see out of the corner of his eye. Right. He's not in Greenwich Village where he could find his tribe. This is like, it's the reality for a lot of kids today, unfortunately. But that's part of it. Like and I think it's so beautiful to have that be what it is and handled so sensitively. And so it's lovely.
Extremely sensitively for what year are we talking about here?
75.
70. What?
I mean, yes. So
that's really something.
It is.
That's really something.
I think so. The movie,
it's impressive.
Movie made $27 million. It was like $2 million to make. I mean, it made a lot of money for Max Baer and also for Bobbie because once again she wrote the song, she published it, so the song became a hit again, and then she made money from that, and that's one of the reasons why she could just retire and do her own thing, which good for her. But yeah, I love songs like this, and I really love the leap of imagination that's here. And I did try to find out if Bobbie Lee ever told anybody what was really happening, but we're just going to have to leave it the way the song is.
Yeah, that's how she wants it. So
yeah,
here we are. I love it. I love it. I remember when, oh gosh, give me a sec. You're so vain.
Carly Simon.
Carly Simon like auctioned off that she was going to whisper in your ear who you're so like, I do not care. I mean, it's cool. It was for charity and stuff like that. But this, this I would love to know, but that's okay. If this is her deal that she doesn't want us to know, that's cool too.
If she left it vague for a reason, I think that's brilliant too. I think that totally works for me. But I would love to see those other verses. Like if there were, like,
I know,
I would die to see them. And it's streaming on Amazon for rent, but I think it's a bunch of places. It's pretty easy.
I saw it for free on YouTube.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, I mean, not like bootleg or anything. Like they have it for free available. You can watch it for free. Yeah, I loved it. I thought the music was good. Like I said, I really loved her parents. Mm-hmm. I kind of liked the kind of slow plodding tone of it. I think it works.
It totally does.
Yeah,
it gives you time
great.
And place. You really feel.
I love the church scenes. Yep. All of it. It was super, super good. And 10 out of 10 recommend.
Yeah, totally recommend.
And the movie. So which did you like better?
If I have to pick one, it's going to be the song just because.
Yeah.
But if you've never seen the movie, really give it a chance. It holds up so well.
I was amazed how well I was like preparing myself.
Yes.
Like you are an adult now. Completely holds up for me as an adult.
Same.
Yeah. Loved it.
Yep.
So let's talk about what we're doing next, because I'm very intrigued by this.
We're going to be talking about The Swimmer, and Cheever is the author. It's a short story, I believe. We both have a book that's a compendium of short stories that were adapted into film, but it's pretty easy to get your hands on. And the movie is called The Swimmer. I think it's Burt Lancaster, and it's 1968. And some people tell me it's like their favorite movie. I have never seen it. I'm dying to see it now. But we figured it's about a guy that's swimming in all these swimming pools, and it's still hot in summer, and we've never talked about Cheever before, so I think that could be really interesting. So that's what we're going to be doing next.
I think I've read the story, but no, I've definitely never seen this movie.
I believe I did in college.
So I'm excited for it.
I'm sure there's lots of symbolism. That's why. But that's what's coming up next. Once again, please send us your suggestions. We'd really appreciate it. And all those places I mentioned. Lastly, one more time, bookversusmoviepodcast@gmail.com if you want to send us an email or if you'd like some stickers. And please be sure to subscribe and review. Leave us nice reviews wherever you get your podcast. That would be amazing. And Margot, where can they find you?
You can find me online at coloniabook.com, and all of my social media callouts are at She's Nacho Mama. And where can they find you?
You could find me on Twitter or X, Brooklyn Margot, on Threads, Instagram, and my site, it's Brooklyn Fit Chick. I put the links for the show there. And on TikTok, I'm at my name, Margot Donahue, and I do put some clips there of the movies that we're talking about. So please check that out when you get a chance. And thank you all so much, and we'll be back soon with a new episode. And happy birthday, Margot! Everybody think about that.
Thank you,
July
and
27th.
Bobbie Gentry.
And to Ms. Gentry, this is awesome. Thank you so much for listening to the Book versus Movie podcast. We are a part of the Frolic Podcast Network. You can find more podcasts you will love at frolic.media/podcasts. We follow the hashtags LadyPodSquad and Podern Family. If you want to support the show, you can go to our Patreon page, go to Patreon, and look for Book versus Movie Podcast. We have a basic Facebook page, but we also have a private Facebook group. Go to Facebook and type in Book vs. Movie Podcast group if you want to join that. You can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Book versus Movie. Spell all those words out. If you'd like to send us an email, it's Book versus Movie Podcast, spell that all out, at gmail.com. You can follow Margot D at Brooklyn Fit Chick on social media, and Margot P at She's Nacho Mama. Thanks so much again for checking out our show, and we'll be back soon with a new episode.